All right, so I love these Canadian-based inventions that really do change aspects of an entire industry. And so I know we saw the video there, Mark, but maybe can you fill in some of the areas around ScreenScape? What does this industry look like? And basically, why did you start it in the first place? How did we get here?
Yeah, can you hear me all right, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, so we like to keep it real simple and just explain ScreenScape by saying we make it easy for businesses to connect and to control screens over the internet. And you would think that that would be easy in this day and age, but it turns out for whatever reason it's not. And while I was a professor at the University of Prince Edward Island, sort of my soft landing back on the East Coast, I happened to have a chance to sort of test some theories. I was put to work with some smart students on some similar type of activities connecting screens across campus.
Yeah. That
eventually grew out and into the community, into sports bars, into sporting facilities, into all kinds of different public venues. And I kind of thought to myself, this is kind of interesting. Meanwhile, I took a look at the industry and realized that that industry that's come to be known as the digital signage industry was really stuck in the 80s, really sort of using old, complex and very expensive technology that was sort of walled in by its own equipment, you know, not built at all to scale, not built to sort of self-propagate like we would expect something like an internet technology to do to reach a global scalability. And so in somewhere in there I found an opportunity and I decided, you know, at some point I'm going to have to do this, and so I did. That's
awesome. I mean, this entire industry, let's just think about this. What we've seen through cost compression of screens. And let's face it, you know, the monitors that we have up front, the digital LCD, LED TVs that we have at home, the costs have come down dramatically. By the way, Dell launched TVs at one stage. The first plasma was $5,000. It was half the price of the other plasma for a 42-inch, which was $10,000. Other players in the market. And now we get those types of screen sizes for well less than $1,000. So screens are huge here, but this whole place-based media, what's the value to an average business owner? Like, why is it important, and why are we seeing screens everywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we all grew up in the broadcasting age. Anybody here that's sort of my vintage grew up in the broadcasting industry, so they know a little bit about broadcasting. Let's take CNN as a good example of that.
I've heard of CNN.
Yeah. So the people in Atlanta, where CNN's broadcast center is based, are more than likely to see the same message on the television in Atlanta as you and I would here in Toronto, or myself back in Prince Edward Island, somebody in Montreal, somebody in Mexico City.
Yeah.
You know, you build that content centrally and then you push it out universally. That's broadcast.
All over the world. Yeah.
But the internet doesn't work like that, does it? My Facebook feed, my Twitter feed is different than yours.
Yours is much better.
Yeah. Well, we take our cue from the internet, put it that way, where we can now build media systems that are much more audience-centric.
Sure.
And of course, in the consumer world, that means your mobile phone, your device. But in the business world, more often than not, that means a retail context, a place of business. It could be a university campus, it could be a health clinic. And you know, this is where that germ of the idea started for me, which is, why is our media landscape so centralized? Why does it steamroll everybody with the same promotional message when, after all, there's a ton of local context, a ton of you know, audience needs that are not being filled by a broadcasting message. And therein lies the opportunity that technology exists, or at least it does now. One of the things that was a major innovation for us, as you saw in this video, is the advent of this little device, thankfully, that Dell manufactured.
Yeah.
They acquired a company called Wise. And Wise sought us out because we were considered a progressive software vendor. And they embraced us. They saw that in this little device, which they built for thin client computing applications, was a bigger market for digital signage. And so they sought us out as a progressive software vendor and took our requirements as gospel. And so this little device has replaced the complex and expensive Windows-based IT infrastructure that formerly would have been required, along with professional services, systems integrators, and all this complex IT mess. in order to enable that screen to be connected to the internet.
Is that one on?
Check,
yep.
check.
Yep.
Yep. I think so. Yeah.
Yep, there we go. Good. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And let's just give me some context around this and to the users. I'm not a specialist in the digital signage industry, but my understanding is when this came out, when digital signage started to be popular, we're talking thousands of dollars to get a full connectivity platform in an environment. And this looks like high Dell value, but I don't think it looks like thousands of dollars. So what are some of the economics here?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so a Windows-based PC, of course, has a big licensing component. You might be spending up to $1,000 for a Windows-based PC. Those workstations weren't designed to simply connect screens to the internet. They're designed as workstations.
Sure.
And so the process of configuring them to make them simpler, ironically, required a heck of a lot of professional services and a full-blown IT project. And so you got equipment costs, you've got professional services costs, and inevitably you've got a project to manage. When you introduce a solution like this, which has been highly engineered to be simple, it's not easy to be simple.
Yeah.
You can mail this out to a retail partner. It's like Apple TV, take it out of the box, you plug it into the HDMI port, you get it online, and you're part of that brand marketers network, you're part of that retail network.
Wow.
It could be any different kind of application, that university campus, you're part of their network. And you don't necessarily need to have a professional service guy go out there and do all this work.
And I noticed the centralized console that you had.
Yes.
So if I'm in a specific application, whether it's retail, let's say it's in a doctor's surgery, it's in a university or college or other business environment, how then do I customize the media or the message to my users or to my customers?
Absolutely. So that's where our software comes in, and we build elegant software to make it easy to publish content on a screen. It consists of templates and libraries of assets like videos and images, some of which might have been populated in advance by your brand partner or by your corporate marketing group so that you don't have to do it. And that process sort of puts the users on rails so that they can just pick a la carte what they'd like to choose and what kind of message they'd like to send that day. Maybe they change the price, and away they go. They customize that message, but they stay within those brand standards that their brand marketer may have hoped they would by providing those templates, those assets in advance.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So I know that we've had the Dell Cloud Connect, and it's being utilized in various areas because of secure nature and ease of use. But did you work with us from an engineering perspective, or how did that work to literally get your software integrated?
Yeah, that's actually a really sneaky important aspect of this. That there are low-cost Android devices on the market. The difference here, of course, is that this has been highly engineered for a single purpose. This has not been taken off the shelf and rooted or jailbroken and ported to our solution. Not at all. We worked with the engineers at Wise to reinvent it from the bottom up. Thankfully, they embrace us, and we're now joined at the hip.
Great.
So things like security, things like performance, reliability, being able to control this device through the cloud, saving you thousands of dollars in maintenance costs and management costs, are only possible through that that engineering effort that collectively we were able to accomplish.
Wow, and I guess the whole difference of having a full device infrastructure, wiring, and everything else around it versus that box arriving, plugging it in, that's got to be a better cost model for you to be able to execute for your customer too, right?
Unbelievable. We provide these free of charge with the subscription to ScreenScape, and that's all you need to know.
Awesome.
A customer like Hyundai, a good customer of ours, was spending $3,000 to get a screen connected, and they were one of the few that could do it. Putting screens in the automotive service centers and the showrooms across all the dealers across Canada. And when we introduced this, we just said, you don't have to do that anymore. We're just going to provide this for you. By and large, the screens are already on the wall somewhere. If it's not, they can find any screen at all. And they said, thank you very much. And then they doubled down on their license and started putting them into the parts counters and the used car centers. And now this is what we're seeing right across the industry, is that it's opening up the market, and it's sort of democratized the media to be able to
and perhaps rise to ubiquity someday, a true internet of screens. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I mean, I can think of a million applications. You've got I play golf. So you and I were talking about it, Prince Edward Island, the boy who grew up there. There's golf course pretty much every kilometer. So I think you got a little video that you want to show us on that, and maybe set up the video. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet. So
yeah. So some people need to see some customer examples to sort of truly grasp how this technology is used in practice. It's easy to envision in a national context like Hyundai, for example, or Bauer, Source for Sports. They're having a great time with this technology. Canadian Blood Services is using these in all their blood clinics and using our technology to try to increase participation at their blood drives and so on. But what's not obvious to everybody is that ScreenScape isn't just a closed-circuit system for a particular company to sort of push content down to retail. It's also a platform, not unlike Facebook or LinkedIn, where you can actually on an ad hoc basis, reach out to other members who use the service, invite them to join your group, so extend your reach into the community or the industry, invite retail partners that are at arm's length. You can share content, you can invite graphic designers, not-for-profit partners, and so on. So this is sort of manifesting itself at industry levels by whole industries adopting ScreenScape as an industry standard, and all kinds of interesting sort of collaboration happening. But what's also interesting, it's also happening at a local level. So you'll see a car dealership collaborate with a coffee shop across the street. One has an interest in selling cars, so he wants people having a coffee across the street to come over and check out the new line of cars. And meanwhile, the coffee shop says, well, you got people waiting in the waiting room for the car to be serviced. Why don't we exchange content? You have a digital sign, I have a digital sign. We could do this in-kind contribution here and work together. So the video is a Prince Edward Island example. It's a classic PEI example. We've got Rod's Hotel, so one of the leading hoteliers in the region, a number of hotels, and the links at Crowbush Cove. And this is a real-world example where you have one tourism operator really alongside a hotelier who's got food and beverages. They've got the hospitality industry. And they are taking their natural affinity with each other, their partnership, and expressing it new ways through this retail marketing technology. Cool. It could be through commerce, or it could be through some in-kind partnership. In this case, it's pretty obvious. You're trying to get people from the golf course to come back to the hotel for drinks in the evening. You're trying to get people at the hotel to come out and play another round of golf, and they're doing all kinds of interesting cross-collaboration, and I think the video speaks for itself.
Awesome. So let's roll the video then.
We operate 4 of the top golf courses on Prince Edward Island, and we would say anywhere in Canada as well. We have the screens located directly behind the Pro Shop counter at each of our facilities, so it's a perfect spot because when the client is paying for their golf activity, that's the thing they see in the background. So they see the screen there, and obviously point of sale is where a lot of decisions are made. So it gives us that opportunity to get one last chance to have them spend a few more dollars.
It's very easy to use. We have each of our locations are responsible for looking after their own content, but what's great is we can manage it from our corporate office and send out messages to all of our locations. Whether it's a restaurant special, whether it's a community event, something happening within the property, to now we're realizing that we can use it so much more to cross-promote our properties. Like I said, we have locations all throughout Atlantic Canada, so we can cross-promote our PEI resorts in our New Brunswick locations and vice versa.
We use it for sales and marketing activities, upcoming events. We also use it for suppliers. We have various suppliers like Nike or TaylorMade Adidas Golf. We find that when we put items on the screen, we can see the spike in sales, so we use it to showcase their products as well. The installation itself was extremely easy.
It's very simple. The technology is so great now, and it's becoming inexpensive too.
It was a very simple process. We were up and running within a couple of hours.
And the great thing about ScreenScape is if we have a problem that we need solved, they're really good to help us out.
We don't use the tech support very often now. They're still great to work with, but we don't have to use it much because the system really does run seamlessly. We don't have to spend a lot of time, obviously, in training.
We're really looking at some more locations we can install a place-based media. We have restaurants, spas, We're also looking to use the community more to find some partners in our target markets that we can trade off advertising or buy advertising in.
I would say for sure you want to do this. It's easy to do, it's cost effective, it's extremely valuable.
I love that. There's a couple of things I love about that. Number one is I actually saw green grass for the first time in 5 months. Number two, I was just thinking about it from a golf club perspective, just as a simple example. Mentioned there the engagement with TaylorMade, Titleist, etc. There's an opportunity to either enhance the relationship or literally maybe bring some profitability, extra profitability back into the establishment or the golf shop. So that's pretty cool. Hey, I know that's Prince Edward Island and we love it and great, but it's not the whole world. So you're involved with, you mentioned a couple, with Bauer, with Source for Sports, with Hyundai, with Procter & Gamble. I mean, these are material organizations that are national and international in scope. Really, what's left for you? And maybe it's expanding your market, and what's your go-to-market strategy? Are you working with channel partners, as an example?
Yeah, we are. It's a great question. We have a small direct sales force, as you can imagine, from PEI. We're not necessarily going to use that as the base of operations to tackle global domination. We are actively looking for channel partners. We might have a roster of a dozen, some south of the border, some north of the border, but we're actively looking at anybody in the IT world and pro audio visual, point of sale, retail technologies. These are the people already talking to these places of business. They're already offering them technology solutions. We fit in nicely and we offer them a nice piece of the action as well.
Yeah. So the one thing I would say though is seeing the disruptive nature, and Kirk talked about it, Armagon talked about it, the disruptive nature of your technology. Maybe the traditional reseller might see this as threatening, where there's a whole bunch of national and regional players in the room engaging with customers in various states in their end user customer engagement. There may be an opportunity there because it's you've got it set up, it's easy to use, easy to implement, and it really will help that business, won't it?
Exactly. And as much as we think of ourselves as leaders, the first to do this, it's no different than, say, the computer revolution that started with mainframe computers and eventually down through personal computing and now into mobile and wearables.
Sure.
It's about the democratization of the media, making it simpler, more cost-effective, and yeah, you could watch that and wonder if you're going to get disintermediated, or you could get involved and take advantage, capitalize on the situation. And so anybody who's talking to those same places of business stand to benefit through this technology.
Fantastic, Mark. Hey, we talk at Dell about the power to do more, and it's cool to see the power to do more within the palm of your hand there. I really appreciate it. Great business, great Canadian success story. Thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks to Mark.